I got kind of bored of hardware. Been playing a lot of video games. This is bobkeys.com, where I get my Windows serial numbers and a number of other things. You want to hear about some numbers? Use coupon code TS25 and you won't have to deal with that number. It's going to be $14, around that range. As well, right here, TS25 will take money off of that. We've got Office, you got Windows 10 Pro and Home. Once you place your order, you just click on your account up here, click on User Center, and then you'll see My Purchases. Just hit View Keys and Codes. You copy this, hit Start and type Activate, and then click on your activation settings, and it'll bring up this. Just click here to change your product key, and then paste that right in there and hit Next, and you are activated and good to go. So again, head over to bobkeys.com. Thanks to them for sponsoring. Use coupon code TS25 and get these OEM style prices. You deserve it. Now to our regularly scheduled program. You know, I've been wanting to do a segment for a while where I just talk about games, because for me, hardware isn't the thing. It's the thing that gets you to the thing. So when I spend all my time just focusing on benchmarking hardware, I get really bored with my life. I've had a lot of different jobs, and I actually prefer, doing a regular 9-to-5 office job than sitting up till 4 in the morning benchmarking and testing results and messing with drivers. That's not what I like to do. I enjoy tweaking and I enjoy messing with hardware. I can use it to create stuff like music and maybe working on something in the Unreal Engine, or I can use it to enjoy some media, some entertainment, and some games. So in this video, I'm going to talk about all the games I played in January, because I actually played games this month and I haven't been this happy in a long time. I know I didn't record a lot of content, and in the future I'll probably be more like this, because I'm going to be focusing mostly on working on the Unreal Engine, because doing hardware as a job and also trying to work on a game or something on the side, it was never going to happen. Like, just not possible. Mentally not capable of doing that many hours in hardware and then having the creative resources available in my brain to sit down and jump in and start creating a world. Not going to happen. So focusing on that, and then everything else goes to the back. I want to try to focus mostly on indie games. People talk so much about everything that's new, like Cyberpunk and stuff like that, and I want to sort of talk about older games and indie games, but I'll also cover a few of the big games, but I'll try to go over them a little more briefly. So let's talk about what I've been playing this month, and I'm also going to kind of look at things from like a standpoint of like, what have I learned as far as like, game design and stuff, since I want to get into that. Sorry for just playing the videos while I'm talking. I didn't feel like doing a lot of editing because I'm on a stream here. So a lot of these games I did stream. Speaking of streaming, I streamed them to twitch.tv, and we're watching one of my streams right now. It's Midnight Dojo. So if you're on twitch.tv, all one word, Midnight Dojo. The game that I put probably the most time into off of stream was City Skylines, and it's a pretty cool city builder. I really like games that have interesting systems that work together. As you can see here, all my people are dying because I put the sewage the pipes in the wrong spot, and my intake was ended up getting water from the sewage pipes in it, and I couldn't figure out where it was. I was looking everywhere, and then after all that was said and done, I realized that I also had a water tower in the middle of a polluted area. So this is me learning how to play the game. And at the same time, on the bottom here, you can see I'm also playing something else called Drakkhen. We'll get to Drakkhen in just one more second. I want to say that, like, if you're someone who grew up on SimCity, I played a lot of the original SimCity, but also SimCity 2000, and you want something that's, more modern with some awesome graphics and really nice building mechanics, this is a lot of fun, and I thought it was a bit more approachable than the latest SimCity game, which I got into a little bit, but I need to go back to it and see if I remember it as fondly as, I really like this. God, my city looks a wreck right now. It's a tiny little city. I've got a new city. But if you like those kind of games, I probably recommend this. I'm also going to check out Anno, but I had more fun with this than I did with Civ 6, so that's saying something. All right, so this little thing in the corner down here, what in the hell is that? This is an old game, one of the original Super Nintendo games. I don't mean original Super Nintendo, but I mean this is one of the first Super Nintendo games, and it ended up getting a bit of press because it had a pseudo 3D environment that you could wander around in. Let me just pull this up here. Here's the Super Nintendo box. Drakkhen. French-made game. I believe it's Infocom, or who made this here? Chemco, Psycha, I think Info, I don't know. There's also an IBM version. This is the IBM box art is so much cooler. Like, one of the coolest boxes, in my opinion. This is the IBM version. And there was also an Amiga version. Why did I not play this on DOS? Why did I play the Super Nintendo version? The Super Nintendo version had superior, far superior sound design and music. Like, the music was probably my favorite soundtrack on the Super Nintendo, and it doesn't really sound like video game music all that much. It does, but it doesn't at the same time. It sounds almost like electronic music, like soothing digital piano and stuff like that, but it really fit. Anyway, let's get it open up. And there it is on the Super Nintendo. Let me just skip into the video. There you are moving around in this 3D world. Now when you go into a building, it cuts to a different view, like a side view or something like. But when you're in the dungeons, you go like this, and you have 4 characters that you can control. But one of the reasons I wanted to play this game was not because it was like an amazing game. The fighting is kind of whatever. The story's neither here nor there, even though they consulted with Gary Gygax and he wrote part of the story. But he also helped with some of the systems for this game. And so we end up with something that's very similar to D&D, or I believe his later adventure type game. I forgot what it's called, something adventure. Don't get poisoned, you're gonna get poisoned! Oh, the snake bit right through the buckler. So one of the things that I wanted to look at from this game is, even though the mechanics weren't that fun, and the gameplay was kind of weird, I always kept coming back to this as a kid, and I would even leave it playing like I did when I was playing City Skyline. I would leave it playing because, well, let me go to an area where I'm outside. I'm talking to a merchant, we'll leave that for later. When you're outside and you're wandering around, you'll have random encounters with enemies. And in these encounters, there's not a lot of items in the game. It's the opposite of Cyberpunk, and that's why I wanted to play this. When it comes to loot, you get drops, and every single time there's loot, it's like a potential for something exciting. Because I got that, see right there, I got a power helmet. Now in the game, there's only like 5 or 6 levels of armor. So that power helmet, it didn't tell me what it was. It could be a +1, 2, 3, or in a very rare circumstances, it could be a +4. So when you get something, or when you see a merchant and they have something for sale like that, they don't tell you, oh, I'm gonna die. When you're talking to a merchant or something, you don't know if it's a +4. You haven't examined it yet, but once you get it in your inventory, then you'll know. So every bit of, I guess every bit of loot that's dropped feels like it could potentially be something. And that's what kept me coming back, because it was like, well, you know, I've got a longsword +1, but maybe I'll be able to get a longsword +2. And there's this like weird gameplay loop of exploring, fighting monsters, and then slowly upgrading your gear that kept me coming back. Even though it was not like, you know, super ridiculously involved as far as the gameplay goes, it did look pretty good for its time, in my opinion. So this game came out before Ultima Underworld by like 4 years. It came out in 1989. So this is a game from the 80s, and it came out before Betrayal at Krondor, which I think was 93. Ultima Underworld was 92. This came out way back, and it was one of the first RPGs that was like this. So even though the gameplay and the combat and stuff were a little weird, they just really did loot in a way that I feel like modern games don't do right. It's kind of weird. We've gotten into this like hoarder mentality with some modern games, like even Wasteland 3 on the kind of indie side, but especially with Cyberpunk, that should be a class in how not to do weapons, armor, and loot progression, because in that game, in Cyberpunk, they fill the entire environment with junk, and you have to collect it. There's like packs of cards and ashtrays. You're running all over the freaking map collecting ashtrays, and they're everywhere. It's like they just ran an algorithm and they just put cards and ashtrays and junk boxes and broken equipment in just random spots all over the map. And when you get to these things, you have to pick them up because they improve your crafting skill, but they're labeled as junk. So a lot of times you'll be in the middle of something running around in Cyberpunk and there's just junk everywhere. And above and beyond that, when you do get some weapons, like you go in like your inventory here and you've got like some stuff to upgrade, and sometimes you'll get excited. But a lot of times in Cyberpunk, if you get some really high level gear, you kill a bad guy that's like much higher level than you, and they drop a really nice weapon, or they drop a nice outfit, which for some reason that's tied to your armor stats, but whatever. Say they drop something really good. Most of the time, if it's really good, you're not even going to be able to use it because it's going to be restricted to a certain level. And if you're only level 20 and the item that you picked up is level 30, there's no use to it. So I usually just sell those things, because by the time I'm actually high enough level to use it, that item is completely everywhere in the game. So it's like, yeah, I got a good item, but I can't use it. And by the time I can use it, it's going to be irrelevant. So Cyberpunk, there's a masterpiece in there somewhere, but right now it's just a freaking mess. And I'm not even going to get into how the developers or the management was really shitty, but the management was really shitty, and I can make a whole video on that, but everyone's already done that, so yeah. Anyway, I do recommend Drakkhen if you want just like a fun, interesting, old school RPG from 1989 with beautiful music and interesting visuals. I love the sunsets in this game. Some frustrating mechanics, but you'll get the hang of it. You have to like go through the first dungeon before you put this down, because then you'll be like, if you can make it through the first dungeon, then I think you'll get an idea of how the game goes. But if you just start playing, it's going to be like you're going to instantly die a couple of times. Just know that death comes quickly in the beginning, but not so much later in the game. All right, what else did I play? All right, I've been playing this a little bit. I'm actually, thanks to Bard, thank you very much, got me into a group that every month they do like a game of the month and everyone plays it. There's a name for that or something, a game of the month or something like that. But anyway, this was the game. It's Wonderboy. Remember old Wonderboy? I believe it's from the Genesis. That's what it looked like. It's kind of a Metroidvania game. Oh, pardon the stutter. I'm moving things on my hard drive right now, so if the video stutters, that's why. Because I'm the same hard drive that I'm playing the game on is a mechanical hard drive, and I'm moving stuff around. But anyway, this game, I want to say it was remade, but it was just redone. And I'm surprised at how well it holds up. I mean, it's, you know, platforming, and you play as a dragon, and you can also be a guy or a girl with a sword and shield. I picked girl, so that's kind of cool. Now the game turned itself into Wonder Girl, which is, you know, sort of a modern thing, but I'm glad they gave me the option because I always identify better with the female protagonist for some reason. So I'm always for when they do that in games, whatever. Doesn't matter that much. The main thing I want to show you in this, I didn't get too far into the game yet, but check out the differences between switching between retro mode and the new modern mode. I'm going to turn this up so you can hear the music too, because it's got amazing music. So there you heard a little bit of the differences between the music, and you can see the differences in the visuals. It's really shocking how different it is, and I think it's pretty cool. I would like to see a lot of games that had pretty cool gameplay from back in the day redone in this way, because I know that they did a lot of work. The developers did a ton of work, but this is easier than creating an entirely new game from scratch. I know people are going to argue with me, but that's just no. This is easier and creating a game from scratch, and it took a lot of talent to make the new music, and it took a lot of talent. Well, I mean, they're basically just taking the melodies from the old and turning it into something new, but they did it in such a nice way. Like, whoever made the music really understands composition, because the way they blended in everything from mandolins to clarinets, it's really cool. Let's go to a different song here over in the desert area. This is just the beginning of the game. There we go. Look at the desert area. I'm going to turn it up so you can hear the music. Let's go back. By the way, I suck at these kind of games. I really need to put a little bit more time into this game, because I just started playing this toward the end of the month and did some capturing on this last night just to show it off a little bit. But God, I'm terrible at I'm terrible at this. Once I get hit once, I'm like, screw it. I just go get hit like 10 more times. So I'm probably going to go back and play this game quite a bit more, because this also has some satisfying mechanics when it comes to like leveling up and acquiring loot, because it's not overloaded with loot, but you do have to get new items, just like Metroidvania, in order to advance into other areas and stuff like that. So I do recommend this game if you like the art style and you like the music. I don't think the gameplay is better than like Super Metroid or whatever, but I put this up against Castlevania. I didn't really like Castlevania all that much when it comes to gameplay, just aesthetics and music, but yeah, it's surprisingly held up well. And with the new art and stuff, it doesn't feel too out of date. All right, this is Morbid, the Seven Acolytes. Now, this is a really pretty pixel game. I'm going to skip into it a little bit here. It's a really pretty pixel game. You see that rolling? You know where we're going with this? It's a Souls-like. Ignore the stuff on the bottom of the screen there. That's just whatever song I'm listening to at the time when I'm streaming. And I keep that on the screen. So yeah, it's a Souls-like. but it's a really interesting Souls-like, and the gameplay is, I mean, feels really good. You know, the combat feels really good, the movement feels really good, the rolling feels really good. I like being able to aim with my mouse so that I can roll in one direction and then, you know, aim in the opposite direction. There's melee, that's mostly what I did, but there's also some ranged combat that you can do. Look out, roll! But it is a Souls-like in the sense that a lot of these enemies do get a little bit repetitive, but you can run right past them if you want to. If you play an area and you get killed, it takes you back quite a bit, but you can run right past everything. Dark Souls is not my cup of tea, so therefore this, despite its charm, was not my style of game, but I kept playing mostly for the environments and just the interesting lore and stuff. It has sort of a, I don't know, like a nautical Cthulhu thing going on, and I just love the sluice. Look at all that sluice and gore and everything like that. That's cool. Gives the world an interesting feel. Let's skip forward and show you the docks. There we go, down here on the docks. Look at that Cthulhu beast I just fought. Let's see, there it is. Oh, it's already dead. There's another one. There's some characters you can talk to. You can take quests as you go around. Like sometimes you'll see people and they'll give you a quest. Like there's a quest log you keep in the game. Oh, ghost. Look out. You can upgrade your weapons and stuff, and that was also satisfying, better than Cyberpunk. The way at which you upgraded your weapons, because a lot of times you'll get like a sword that's much stronger. Oh, I'm probably gonna die here. You get a sword that's much stronger, but it'll swing way slower, and sometimes you'll find that like swinging much slower is going to end up getting you killed. So you go, you know, I ended up going with a sword that's not quite as strong, but easier to wield and quicker to attack, because a lot of times on the wind up, I'd be winding up and the bad guy would just nail me, so it would not be doing well. All right, so that's the Morbid, the 7 acolytes. I'll say this: if you like Souls-like games, if you like the style of this game, and if you're okay with some somewhat difficult combat, I would get this game. I didn't play that far into it because, you know, I wanted to test out a bunch of games and see which ones I wanted to come back to and play more. This is not, like I said, my style of game, but I think this is going to be great for people who are into this. It is fun. Just I probably won't come back to it. Hopefully, if you like it, or if you like this style, you'll get into it. So, all right. Next up, I played a game called Draugen, and I played that on stream earlier in the month. And the main reason I wanted to play this game is literally I saw the trailer, and let me just get into the actual game here. And the trailer had a sense of place and scale that you don't see in a lot of games. And she is a brat. The game's set in the 1920s, and you're an American. I think you're a writer or something like that, but you're off to the fjords of Norway, to a small little village, and you're looking for someone. And once you get there, everything's a little weird in the village. She's always calling you old bean and stuff. She's a proper brat. Wealthy brat. There we go. Let's take a look at this. Ignore the chat on the screen, everybody. That's just from when I was streaming this stuff. Yeah, the scale of the mountains and stuff are ridiculous. But once you get into the game, there we go. It's kind of a mystery-solving walking simulator, but I felt like there's more to do than there was in a lot of walking simulators, because you have an entire town to explore. You do have to do things in a linear fashion, but you don't have to do everything. You know, like here you're deciding what to do. You first get here, there's not a lot of people around town. There's little details here and there. She's ridiculous. You end up interacting with a lot of the objects. Let's cut up to the house. And you do sort of feel like you're in this person's shoes. He's out of shape. Here I'm having trouble getting to the top of the mountain. So if you really want to experience, like, there's my next stop, like, can I make it to that bench? If you want to run around and shoot everything like you're playing Doom or something, this is not your game. But if you want to, like, chill a little bit and take in an experience and be in his shoes, it might be a bit of fun. I haven't beaten this either. You know, this month I've been playing a lot of games just to sample some of the things I've purchased. And I'm going to go back after I finish this and play a little bit more into the game. I got a little stuck at one point where I'm not sure what I need to do next to open a gate, so I did that off stream. Let's cut forward and show you a little bit more. There you are inside the house. The graphics are unbelievably beautiful, and I think this was made in part with some grants from Canadian government. I might be wrong. So, but yeah, it's a beautiful game. If you want to take in an area, the voice acting is also awesome. Speaking of really good voice acting in an interesting area, I played this, but I had to play it with my keyboard, so I'm going to cut past this. I wanted something a little bit darker, and I found it, The Beast Inside. So this is another game where you're in a place, exploring things, solving puzzles, but this is a horror game. Let's cut into it. Here we are arriving at this house that we just got. And, it was like a handed down, but there's something weird in the house. Of course there's something weird in the house. And it's you don't know that when you first get there. You're like, oh, yay, we're going to our little house that we just got. We're going to look at it. We're going to paint it. We're going to refinish it. So you go through, do a little bit of chores, and you start exploring and realizing that there's more to this place than it seems. I'm not going to give away the story, but, it's got the typical... Let me get into it. It's got the typical horror game stuff where like you're doing tasks and stuff, and then it's dark and you'll look outside and there's something out there. There's a person, and then you look again and he's no longer there. So you end up in the basement, of course, with a light searching around. It's got a lot of the typical tropes, but some of the new gameplay mechanics that I haven't seen in many horror games. You do have to do some stuff where you manipulate items in a 3D fashion to find the clues and stuff that I've seen in many other games. But this made me feel like I was playing Stalker. Look, you gotta redo this entire house and get everything fixed. So you end up with this device. You gotta find quantum clouds to like find clues of what happened using this really weird device that can essentially see where stuff has gone down, where spirits were, where things were, scanning into past. Kind of a weird mechanic, and it really made me feel like I was playing Stalker, because you're at some point looking for and actually shooting anomalies that exist in the world. And it's not something I expected in a game like this, and it added another layer on top of just the standard horror walking simulator formula that I thought was kind of interesting, but it also got boring pretty quickly. You've got a little hot and cold meter there with the 27% right there on the right there on the device. It shows you how close you are to other anomalies. I'm learning how to use it here, but let's see if I can show you an anomaly. So here I am detecting one, coming up on it. And there we go. We shot an anomaly out of the air. It's kind of weird, but you have to shoot those down before you can detect the stuff that's going on in the actual game world. Detecting some weird stuff. So you investigate to see what's been going on. All the while, things are getting weirder. You're seeing strange monsters and creatures. A lot of this game felt a little typical to me, but it was interesting. And the thing with games like this is you can reuse ideas and tropes and stuff, but if it's pulled off in a nice way, the environments look great, obviously, and the voice actors are interesting and well done, then I think it's worth playing. And so this game is worth playing from that standpoint, if this is your style of game. There were a couple of bugs that kept me from really, really enjoying it. One of the ones was that, okay, this part right here, see that ladder up there? You have to use a grappling hook to pull it down. And I kept trying to do this, but the game automatically equips things when you get into the range. Now, it didn't equip my grappling hook the first time I played this, and I ran around and tried to get up there, trying to figure out how to do this until I got frustrated, reloaded an older save game. Upon reloading the older save game, I explored the entire area, was frustrated, looked inside the place, and then, let me just turn up this audio so you can hear me laughing right now. I get back here and here's what happened. Oh, you son of a bitch! So yeah, I played the game a lot, and then that happened. Now this happened again at another place in the game when I was trying to get through a door. And I should have been able to just get through the door, but ended up having to reload because somewhere in the game something wasn't triggering that would, you know, advance the game to the next portion. So, yeah. I like this game. Really well done, really pretty. But I feel like it'll be better if they fix a couple of those bugs. So I halfway recommend The Beast Inside. It's a little generic, but it's well done. Anyway, I'm just going to sit here and stare at our scene a little bit. Got our pixel filter on. Show you what it looks like with the pixel filter off. I think I had it on most of this stream. We're building walls and listening to Daggerfall. I mean, come hang out, seriously. There we go, there's our pixel filter, our movement system that Christian has implemented recently. So it's not going to be a third-person game, but we've just got the mannequin there so we can see what's going on. Got our climbing mechanisms, or our mounting mechanisms and stuff. So, you know, getting stuff going on. We've got some of the combat done and whatever, but see if I can show you some first-person movement. There we go. I'm trying to climb on everything because that's just what I do. You've seen enough. You have to come and watch the stream. That's the rules. That's all you get to see. Go back here. You're going to see more of the game in motion. So yeah, come hang out, watch the streams, say hi, or don't, whatever. And let me know if you like a different channel where I just talk about random stuff, mostly having to do with games and game culture and stuff like that. Let me know if you'd like that, because that would be one of the only things that gets me to make regular content. Maybe I'll even try to interview some game devs and world builders and stuff like that, but mostly I'm going to work on this. And people who complain that, you know, I'm not doing 24-hour-a-day regular content just for them, well, maybe this will be better. Maybe you'll like this better, but you never know. You know, and sometimes when one thing stops, it's like this. It's like the end of the world. But you know, the editor-in-chief of PC Gamer, Gary Whitta, ended up writing some of the new Star Wars movies. So people were frustrated, and I was even frustrated when he left. I was like, no, it's gonna go to shit now. I love PC Gamer. How could you do this to me? But I'm not saying I'm gonna go on and do something on that level. But you never know what happens next. So I ask everybody to have an open mind. Don't complain too much that I'm doing what I want to do, because it's not your business. And come hang out on the streams. I'll see you over at Midnight Dojo. All right, bye. I'm done.